Instagram Reels, your ultimate guide to success. That's the title of this podcast, and we're going to look at it in three distinct sections. The creative elements you should use, story types you can build in, and finally, in summary, a tip about how to use Reels in your next campaign.
Welcome to the Just Add Social podcast. I am pleased to hand over to our social media expert Clive Roach, who is the host for this episode.
Thanks, Aria. And today I'm going to be looking at Meta's advice in a performance playbook about how to use Reels effectively. So I'm going to grab into my own experience and we're going to go through that for the next few minutes. But let's start off by Aria giving us an idea of what the social savvy score for this. So this is actually a little bit more of an advanced topic. So Aria, can you give us what the score is so that people know what experience level is best to take in this information?
Gosh,
yes.
This is level 8 on the Savvy Social Scale 1 to 10.
Great. So let's start by looking at the creative elements. There's a few here. I'm going to rattle through them, but let me start with a very important one. Audio. Sound. Yes, this is an important one. So in fact, using music, sound effects or voiceover, any of those three or any combination is a really good place to start. Ooh, Darth Vader.
I can do a voiceover if you want, Clive.
Okay.
How did you get in here?
Never mind. Where was I? So of course, Instagram comes with a selection of music, which is really easy to go through. So that's a really cool one. And of course, sound effects. I've personally found that there's a lot of sound effects that's available in Instagram Reels. Some that you would never think of, like thunder, rain, and forest sounds. So just have a look. My tip for you is to make your reel pop out. Have a look for any kind of sound. What I would normally do is go to other sources. I've got quite a big collection of sounds that I've built up over the years. But you can also get sounds from YouTube, and there's you can also make AI music from lots of different sites like SoundDraw, etc. So really try and make sure you have a good collection of sounds, music that you can use. And if you're going to use your own voiceover, make sure you've got a good quality mic. Like I've got, I'm using a microphone from Trust right now with a pop screen and things like that. But really make sure if you do a voiceover, either do it yourself. If you've got a good voice, ask a friend who's really good at it, or indeed get a professional to do it for you. Oh, and these days, of course, you can do it with AI as well. And in terms of editing your videos, of course, you can use short clips. And you can vary the transitions. You can stitch two clips together and zoom in and out of between clips. I mean, there's a lot of built-in choice within Instagram Reels for you to add that attention-grabbing transition and other editing techniques. So make sure sound, voiceovers, music, and edits. And of course, you've got filtering effects as well. So it's really important to try and make sure that you add filters where you can gain that little bit of interest to your final Instagram reel. So one that I think is worthwhile mentioning is the green screen effect, because there you can then demo gameplay and apps and showcase other things that you want to show. And that's really easy to do in Instagram Reels. Of course, I've got 3 or 4 green screen setups, but in Instagram Reels, you can just do it in the app, and it's very easy to do. And of course, you can add stickers as well, so make sure that it's quite interesting. The next thing to look at is the hook that you're going to use. One thing that I've learned from Snapchat and Meta also advises is to make sure the hook is in the first few seconds. One of the things that I learned from Snapchat when Snapchat started and was running a company one is the first 3 seconds. You have to really grab them in that first 3 seconds. So don't bury the punchline. Also, maybe think about asking a question, just experiment with the different hooks to make sure you've grabbed people in that first 3 seconds. And of course, the next thing, of course, is sticker overlays. They can be really effective. And you've seen the kind of thing in TikTok also, where you're pointing into the air and adding stickers in as a signpost. That can be really interesting. And one of the other things to look at is human presence. So show yourself or actors. Make sure that if you can, make a good human presence in your video. So there's that human to human connection. So here's a good fact. Based on a sample of around 1.2 million Reels ads, Meta saw that Reel ads with a human presence in the creative, such as a face, a person or a child, had a higher click-through rate. So 27% higher click-through rate than those that did not. And the last aspect to look at is what Meta calls lo-fi. So that's low fidelity type reels. And this is basically a term used to describe a style of video production that feels unpolished or user generated. Also, of course, user generated UGC videos are, of course, the mainstay of this type of category. So this gives a kind of feel, a native feel to the video, and that can often get a lot of synergy, and people like that, right? So not a polished location, use people that are really similar to your target audience. These are no-brainer options, so do think about that aspect when you're deciding on what your next reel is going to be. So really interesting, that whole thing about human presence and a realistic people related to your video. Oh, Aria, you've got something to say.
Clive, guess what?
What?
A subscriber asks if I am real or AI. Clive, stop laughing. I am being serious.
All right,
I
all
might
right.
turn your mic off.
Don't turn my mic off. Okay, we're going to move on to the next section, which is about story types for Instagram Reels to be successful. And if you know me, you know that I really like storytelling. So this is a section that I like quite a lot. So let's talk about the first one, the listicle. Now this type I've used many times in marketing. And I remember a few years ago saying to an intern, just do this article and do it as a listicle compared to the other ones we did. Let's see, because I remember at the time it was a very hot topic. And I said, let's see if it will work. And it actually really blew away the results of just a normal paragraph after paragraph after paragraph type article. We did it as a listicle. It was so much more easy to absorb. And the same thing is true of Instagram Reels. So think about how you can use listicles as maybe stickers with titles and going through quickly through cuts and edits, and you're getting very quickly to the point with the visual video doing the talking for you. The next type is the product demo. This is often what we do, but do we do it in a style that's going to be successful in Instagram Reels? So what Meta has advised here is don't just show 60 minutes of just one video. It's saying no, use shortcuts, use stickers, and label each sticker with an interesting advantage or unique selling point for your product, and weave it through a storytelling approach. And that makes your product demo far more interesting. And don't forget to ask questions and use the poll or something like that to get some interaction. Now, the next type of story type that Meta says is very effective is the before and after. So here you're using the benefit of your product or service for your audience by showcasing life before and then after your product. And of course, that's been used in above the line for years, but it can also work quite effectively online. And the last type of story is the Q&A. Now, I've done this a few times, and it can actually work quite well. So the use of the Reels format for this can be successful, showing a conversation between two people, but you've got to make it interactive. You've got to make these shortcuts use stickers and polls, make it interactive. Okay, so the last topic for this podcast is how to use Reels in your next campaign. Take on board all the different things about the creative elements and the story types, and in particular about running it in ads. And my tip here is to use a new process that Meta has introduced us to, and that's called the advantage and placement system of running ads. And let me describe that a little bit more to you. Now, this is not a totally new thing. This was around before, and you might have known it as automatic placements. But now it's called advantage and placements, and is essentially a Meta ad automation tool. What this tool does is that it optimizes for the best places to show your ad across its apps, right? So across the Meta network. And it does that in real time. So Meta looks to distribute your ad in the lower cost placement area first, giving you more results at no extra cost. And then it will move up from there. We've all got to start something for the first time. But the good thing is that Meta has said that what they have found is a 19% decrease in the cost per acquisition, the CPA. They've also said that it's likely, if all the elements or best practice elements are there, as we talked about in terms of what your creative is, putting your hook in the first few seconds, etc., you could achieve something like a 13% higher return on advertising spend, or as we call it, the acronym ROAS, and even an 11% higher reach in Reels and feeds and stories. So have you tried it? Let me know what kind of results you have, but these are kind of the indicative forecasted results you could get if you create your Instagram reel with the advice that I've mentioned before in terms of best practice. So how do you get started with advantage and placements? Well, it's rather easy. Basically, when you start using the Meta Ads Manager, you'll find a section called Placements. Select the advantage and placements before moving to the next step of your creation. And to me, it's also a little bit like when I create Google Ads, right? And I create Google Ads, and now you can break up the different elements with the descriptions, different titles, different assets, and then Google kind of creates the best performing combination of all of those. Slightly, it's more than that, of course, but this is the new era that we're in, and AI is going more and more into how Google creates ads. And so we're seeing this kind of automation more and more these days. So I will put a link so you can find out more information about the advantage and placements process from Meta while using the Meta Ads Manager. That will be in the description of this podcast. One other thing I should mention is that it's also forecasted by Meta that you'll get a higher conversion rate. In other words, the acronym CVR. They said up to 29% higher, which is pretty good. Now, to give you a guide for the conversion rates, I'm going to put another link in the description to a post that I really do like, which talks about Google Ads conversion rates. And what I like about this particular post is that it gives a really good description about the different types of ads, conversion rates that happen in different industries. So in that link, you will find a table that shows in the first column the business category. So you've got arts and entertainment, you've got finance, health, real estate, vehicles. You're going to find something there that matches the industry that you're in. And then there's two tables, the average conversion rate across the search network and then the average conversion rate for the display network. And there you can see the indicative types of average conversion rate for Google Ads. So it'll give you a good idea when you're running ads for Reels, for example, what is a good conversion rate for your particular industry. At least it gives you an idea. And that's the end. So now we're going to go into the takeaway for this. So, Aria, can you help me with rolling the introduction for this?
Counting you in. Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
On my mark. 3, 2, 1.
So here's the key takeaway for today's podcast. Instagram Reels have become a vital tool in digital marketing campaigns due to their high visibility, engagement potential, and alignment with current content trends that we see in your industry and in mine. So Reels allow your brand, my brand, to tap into Instagram's algorithm, which prioritizes video content. So it ensures higher reach and discovery in Instagram. Now, with the growing popularity of short form videos that we've seen in TikTok and Snapchat, we can all try to use Reels to tell compelling stories. That was part 2 of today's podcast. Showcasing products, which was also one of the story types, and to create authentic connections with our audience by using real people, for example. So with everything else that I've said, I would even throw in things that I've not talked about. For example, make sure you optimize for mobile first. That's a given, that's a no-brainer. And obviously hashtags, which I've not mentioned extensively today, but obviously make sure you use trending hashtags as well. So the key also is to focus on entertainment overall, right? Entertainment and value rather than overt brand promotion. By doing this, you can foster deeper connections and have fun. And I think that's one of the things that I think is so cool about social media. I love having fun, and you can also have fun experimenting with these tips and seeing if you can be more successful. So of course, one of the things you're going to need to do is make sure you measure, of course. Measure what works, what doesn't, experiment, but add in these best practices and have fun, as I said before. Thanks for tuning into this podcast, and remember, by just adding social into your communication plans, and now especially Instagram Reels, you can not only amplify your reach, but also create dynamic space for real-time feedback, engagement, and growth.
Please do subscribe to the podcast before you go. Also, you can sign up for the email newsletter for the blog at cliveroachblog.com.
Take care. See you next time.
Till next time, bye.
Goodbye.